You're watching, yes, the Yankees Entertainment and Sports Network.
Perfect day for baseball here in the Bronx, on that side of the street, and on this side. They're giving away bats today, and the Yankees hope to use theirs a little bit more effectively than they have for most of the first half of the season. It is time for baseball as Hyundai presents the Sunday Game of the Week. It's the New York Yankees against the Minnesota Twins in the rubber game of a 3-game set from Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, New York. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Yankees Baseball, along with David Cohn. I'm Michael Kay. Yankees won Friday, Twins won yesterday, so the Yankees are looking to win this series and get to the All-Star break on a high note. Let's take a look first at the pitching matchup for today's game, and it's obviously the New York Lottery pitching matchup. Kyle Gibson will go for the Twins. The youngster 1-2-7.27. CC Sabathia for the Yankees 9-7, 3.99. Now, he hasn't been vintage CC, David, but he's got an under 4 ERA, and the guy did pick up his 200th win recently.
Well, he did, and he's still eating up innings. And after all the talk about velocity all year long and CC Sabathia, whether he can pitch with lower velocity, well, he can. He's made big adjustments, and I think his velocity is starting to creep up. He did get his 200th win. He did pitch well against Kansas City, although he did not get good run support. But I expect Sabathia to bounce back in the second half, and even with all that said, he still has a chance to get his 10th win before the All-Star break today.
These are his last two starts, David. He got that win against Minnesota. Then he pitched a complete game against the Royals, but as you mentioned, the Yankees could not do it for him offensively. It's been a mixed bag for the Yankees in the first half of the season. All of the injuries, all of the extra players, all of the doubt, but still coming into the game, they're 8 games over 500. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it encouraging? We'll talk about it when we get back right here on Yes. One more game. This is what they've done. 51-43. Good for 4th in the American League East. They trail the first-place Red Sox by 6 games. They've used a lot of players because of injuries. They don't hit home runs, but the pitching has gotten it done. Some milestones. Sabathia's 200th win, Pettit's 250th, and Rivera's 15th season with 30 or more saves. Back in the booth, you know the story. That's David Cohn. I'm Michael Kay. David, we talked about this the other day. If we think that Girardi should be really seriously considered for Manager of the Year, we both think that they've done about as much as they can do.
Well, they really have. Never has he been more challenged as Joe Girardi this year in terms of not only roster maneuvers. You talk about 40-man rosters, 15 guys on the DL. Never has a 40-man roster turned over more or been used more in Yankee recent memory. So Girardi deserves a lot of credit for keeping this team right where it is.
Is there more there? Do they need reinforcements?
They need reinforcements. I mean, the numbers don't lie. The pitching is really good, and I expect the pitching to get better in the second half. I think sometimes your starters get beaten down when they don't get run support, and I know pitching for the 98 Yankees, when I did get run support, I won 20 games, and that wasn't the best year I ever had. That was the best supported year I ever had. So Yankees get a little infusion of offense in the month of August. Granderson possibly, Jeter coming back hopefully, maybe a trade deadline move. You never know. But if the Yankees get any offense at all in the second half, that pitching's going to get better.
All right, so we got a game coming up to finish off this first half. It's the Yankees against the Twins. When we come back, lineups, first pitch, baseball next, right here on Yes. Bought by Acura. Acura Advance. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by Chrysler, imported from Detroit. Well, after a one-day respite, the heat and humidity has returned to New York City. The final game of the first half of the season for the New York Yankees. Yankees have taken the field. CC is at the mound, about to take his warm-ups, and we'll take a look at the Twins starting lineup. Brian Dozier, the second baseman, will lead off, batting second, and catching the All-Star Joe Mauer. Justin Morneau at first base will bat third, cleaning up the right fielder Ryan Doman. Trevor Plouffe, the DH, bats fifth, batting sixth, playing center field Aaron Hicks. Cleet Thomas in left field will bat seventh. The number 8 hitter is the third baseman Jamie Carroll, and Pedro Formone, the shortstop, is going to bat ninth.
CC Sabathia finishing out the first half here, going for his 10th win and his 20th start. You see the numbers progressively got better, and the 28 walks particularly good. And I'm going to give you the pitcher scout report brought to you by your Tri-Honda dealers. And Twin killer, CC is 9-0 with a 1.87 ERA over his last 10 starts versus the Twins. Also won 2 postseason starts over that span as well, and 232. Well, 200 career wins in his last start, or actually 2 starts ago. And he's only the 8th player to do so since '61 before turning 33 years old. So that's a pretty good base right there. You already got 200 wins, and you got a lot left to go. And don't give in. Well, this has kind of been un-CC like this year. He's given up a lead in 3 of his last 4 starts, and in 7 starts overall. And that's the most among the Yankee pitchers. And I expect that to change in the second half, because usually when you give that guy a lead, especially late in the game, he's going to come through.
Check out the defense behind CC. It's Almonte, Suzuki, and Wells in the outfield. Infield, Cruz, Nunez, Cano, and Overbay. Behind the plate, the veteran Chris Stewart. And on the mound, Carson, Charles, Sabathia. Dozier digs in. Sabathia is ready. And let's do it here in the Bronx. First pitch is up and away, and we are underway. Gary Cederstrom is the home plate umpire. was drilled deep to left field, and it is a foul ball. Tomahawked that ball right down the line, but foul.
Dozier's been impressive. He's got a quick little bat. He plays second base very well, very rangy, as you see. Just a little quick turning on that high and tight fastball. But sneaky pop, 8 home runs.
Ground ball to Nunez. Away. Well, let's look at the game time weather presented by Bigelow Tea. 87 degrees, 58% humidity, the wind 9 miles per hour, increasing clouds, and of course, there has to be some isolated thunderstorms in the forecast. We dodged them yesterday, not Friday though. Here's Joe Mauer, DH yesterday, catching today. Another good year. Strike. Yankees baseball, available in Spanish by hitting the SAP button on your television. SAP is brought to you by Infinity. One. Twins finishing up a 10-game road trip, and they are 2-7 on the road trip. 1-2 against Toronto, got swept in 4 games by Tampa Bay, split 2 against the Yankees. 0-2. Mauer's such a good hitter, and then you see the struggles he's had historically against CC. 7 for 39, that's 179, and 15 strikeouts.
Sabathia dealt with a lot of questions this year. So far the first half. What about your velocity? What about this? He's given up some leads. With all that said, Michael, he's still among the league leaders in innings pitched. You know, that's one category I look at first. You know, all the other numbers and wins and losses and whip and all the sabermetrics numbers is how long are you out there for? And Sabathia is still averaging 7 innings per start. And that's second in the American League to Chris Sale, who averages 7.1 per 9 per start, rather.
Swing and a miss. Mauer down on strikes.
Sabathia always been a horse. Always wants the ball, never wants to come out of the games. And this pitch right here is probably why Mauer struggled against him over his career. And that's a dandy. It's got depth to it. The slider not only with side-to-side movement, up and down as well.
There's Justin Morneau. Pitch outside, 1-0. Well, the numbers you see from Mauer and Morneau against CC. Morneau is 6 for 47 against him. Now, David, these are two lefty hitters that really hit left-handed pitching well, but against Sabathia, it's like they have no chance.
Not any ordinary left-hander.
I mean, Mauer is a 348 hitter against lefties. So the count 1-2. And if you could neutralize those two guys in this Twins lineup, you got a pretty good chance to win the game. The number 2 and 3 hitters in this lineup. Crowd looking for a strikeout. Instead, they get a ground ball to first. Overbay takes it himself, and that'll do it. Twins go down in order against the Yankee left-hander. It's Minnesota 0, and the New York Yankees coming back. Just a day off for Brett Gardner, a little banged up in the first half of the season, so Ichiro starts in center. Zoilo Almonte in left field will bat second. Batting third, playing second base, Robinson Cano. Travis Hafner, the DH, will clean up. Batting fifth, playing right field, Vernon Wells. Lyle Overbay at first base will bat sixth. Batting seventh, playing shortstop, Eduardo Nunez. Luis Cruz, the third baseman, hits eighth, and batting ninth and catching, Chris Stewart.
We get a look at young Kyle Gibson, one of the top prospects in the Minnesota organization. And on the year, this will just be his fourth start. 1 and 2, a little bit of a rough start so far, and 5 to 10 walks to strikeouts. Just get a look at the pitcher's scouting report brought to you by your Tri-Honda dealers. And a Mizzou grad, a guy after my own heart, Michael. That's where I was going to go to school, University of Mizzou. In 2009, he graduated earning a degree in communications. Did have Tommy John surgery in September of 11 and missed almost the entire 2012 season. Good bounce back here. He's already in the big leagues after that. And as we said, he's a top prospect. He was the 22nd overall pick by the Twins in 09, and over his last 7 starts in AAA this year, he went 5-0 with a 2.19 ERA, and the Twins said it's time to get him up here.
All right, Ichiro will start it off for the Yankees. Count 1-0. On the homestand, Ichiro 8 hits and 31 at bats. Count 2-0. The Yankees took 2 out of 3 against the Orioles. They split 4 with the Kansas City Royals. And now they split the first 2 against the Twins. And 1.
Ron Gardenhire has really been consistent through this whole stretch, and you know it's been a tough run for him.
Let's check out the cold hard facts brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Ichiro's creeping up on all the lists. In the first 2,000 games, Ichiro has 2,693 hits. And only 5 players in that many games have more. And they're all pretty impressive players.
Anytime you're on a list like that, where guys have kind of passed away over several decades ago, you know you're doing something on a historical level. And Ichiro, certainly, when you combine his Japanese numbers as well in the professional league, arguably one of the greatest ever.
Line right to center field. Hicks is there. 1 down. Well, we've seen Hicks, so let's show you the rest of the Twins defense. Hicks is in center, Thomas in left, and Doman over and right. Doman's very, very versatile. He can catch, he can play right field. In the infield, it's Carroll, Florimone, Dozier, and Morneau. Third to first, Maurer behind the plate. Gibson is on the mound.
Twins very strong up the middle. We've seen that this series. Double play combination, short and second, and then up the middle. A lot of range and good athleticism.
Count 0-1 now on Almonte. Line to right field. It's a base hit. Almonte will stop at first with a single. That'll bring up Cano.
Gibson features a changeup, and that's a good one. And that Almonte deserves a lot of credit for staying on that pitch, keeping his hands back and just getting enough of it to get it to the outfield grass, kind of hooking that pretty good changeup from Gibson.
One of the hottest hitters in baseball his last 16 games.
You know, we mentioned it yesterday, Michael, with regard to Cano and his approach. I don't think it's ever been better. You know, he's been forced to take the walk because he knows he's going to get pitched around. In some ways, that was kind of the weakness of Cano's game, as Paul O'Neill pointed out. Whenever Robbie gets good balls to hit, he usually puts a good swing on it. Nowadays, I've never seen a more patient approach from Robbie. I think in the long run, that's really going to pay off for him.
And it's a real delicate balance. Talking to some of the coaches, Robbie is the Yankee offense right now. So he's got to decide when he does expand the zone, because a walk is not going to help them drive in runs. There are times that he should take the walk. Other times he's got to swing the ball off the plate. He's not going to get a perfect pitch to drive. He just doesn't have the protection in the lineup. The guy hitting behind him today has a .218 batting average. But he certainly found a nice balance.
Sort of the catch-22, isn't it? You know, a lot of debate among baseball pundits today about approaches. You know, is it on base percentage? Should guys be looking for walks? Should you be more aggressive? Is it about hitting? Is it about on base? Well, the key for me is just getting good balls to hit, and all that other stuff takes care of itself. And you're right, Michael. There are times when he is going to have to expand. Well, what are the chances of getting a hit on pitches outside of the zone? And for Robbie, he has great plate coverage away, but usually when he chases down and in is when he gets in trouble. It's hard to do anything with pitches in off the plate.
Count out 3-1. Derek Jeter out this weekend, and Joe Girardi said he's going to wait till Thursday to even evaluate how the quad is. And I'm going to look at him. And yesterday he was a little under the weather, too. So he injured himself on Thursday. Friday, out of the lineup because of the grade 1 quad problem. Yesterday he was just under the weather and is in the back room in the clubhouse. Today out in the dugout again as Cano goes to 3-2.
Gibson pretty straightforward. You see Jeter there just kind of hanging out. Just his presence helps. But on the mound, Gibson, fastball, slider, changeup. 6'6", 210 pounds.
That's not a lot for 6'6". Almonte goes, and Cano lines one to right field. Domit makes the play. Let's see if he can make the double play. He does. So with Almonte going, Cano hit one right on the screws, but it's a 9-3 double play to end the inning. We played one here in the stadium. 0-0. Twins and the Yankees on yes. Medical Center Inspired Medicine. Alex Rodriguez in 7 rehab games, 2 for 18, a ribby and 2 runs scored. But whether or not he's ready on the field, David, is a completely different story. New York Daily News reporting today, they're talking about maybe having settlement talks where he might take a 150-game suspension. So, I mean, this could all mean nothing. If he can't come back on the field and get suspended or accepts a suspension, the Yankees are going to have to look outside to get themselves a bat as Domet hits one to center field for a base hit.
Well, they're all valid points, but until you have a definitive notice on what's going to happen with Alex, it's business as usual. He's going to move on up in his rehab process. Actually going to, I think, play in Double-A coming up. And as far as the Yankees are concerned, and Brian Cashman said it, we move forward with our business until we hear otherwise, and that's the way it's going to go.
It's a startling story. It just keeps getting stranger and stranger by the day. A lot of sources and stuff like that. Nobody on the record saying things like this, but pretty good reporters are coming up and saying that this stuff looks ugly. So we'll see if Alex gets here at all. But you could proceed business as usual, David. But the bottom line is the Yankees do need another bat, and if it's not going to be A-Rod, they have to know before the trade deadline. So I'm not sure if the time really jives with whether or not they'll know by July 31st. Strange days indeed. One count on Trevor Plouffe. And another base hit against CeCe.
Another good swing from Plouffe. If you remember, he got it started yesterday with a booming home run into the bullpen off of Phil Hughes, and that is nice hitting, short and quick. One hopper right on up to center field. You look up and down the Minnesota roster, Michael. We've been talking a lot about their woes as of late, but they really did play well the first couple of months of the season. And even though they've kind of lost their way, there's still a lot of athletes there. There's still something to work with as you look around. A lot of team speed, good defensive team. Obviously with Minnesota, and that's why today's start is important for them with Kyle Gibson, the former #1 starter. That is the problem in the rotation. They need some young guns and some arms to come through in that rotation, because defensively and offensively there's some bright spots.
How bad?
So with Sabathia jumping up 1-2 here in the count, it allows Overbay to slide behind first base runner. Hicks with good team speed. Overbay was in front of the runner the previous 2 pitches.
Hammered foul.
Well, Michael, we talked a lot about, with Brett Gardner and Suzuki, and even with some of the Minnesota Twins players, just the threat of a bunt can change the whole defensive alignment. So regardless of whether you're a good bunter or not, or how often you do it, just, kind of like a poker game, the threat of being able to do something can change everything and open up holes for you.
Hicks really hanging in there.
See, Gardenhire showing a lot of confidence in Hicks. He came in hitting a .197, but he does have 7 homers. But no thought to bunt at all in this situation. Nobody out first and second. Going to let him swing the bat. It's a man with a lot of patience right there. One of the most well-respected managers in the game.
Strike 3. Hicks down looking.
Sabathia painting a backdoor fastball. Almost had a little cut to it. Great spot. Right on the corner.
High fly ball, right field. Vernon Wells makes the catch. Tagging is Domit. He'll go to third. The throw is cut off by Nunez. 2 outs.
Pretty good swing there from young Cleet Thomas. Just missed that pitch on a first pitch fastball. He knows it too.
So 1 out away from getting out of the jam. Here's Jamie Carroll. One and 0.
Pretty good umpire behind home plate, Michael. Gary Cederstrom, the crew chief, been around a while. Very consistent strike zone.
Looped into right field. It's a base hit for Carroll. Domit scores. Plouffe goes to third. RBI single for the Twins' third baseman. It's 1-0 Minnesota.
Good hitting from Carroll. Sabathia just trying to get back into the count, get a strike. It's right down the pipe. Carroll not trying to do too much, thinking right field the whole way.
Here's the number 9 batter, Florimon. Broke yesterday's game open with that 2-run home run. From 2-1, made it 4-1. And there's a base hit to center field. Plouffe scores. Carroll moves to third. RBI single for Florimon. It's 2-0 Twins.
Good approach for Minnesota so far is early and often, and you see once again location. Even though it's down, it's got a lot of the plate. Florimon feeling pretty good about himself after the big home run yesterday, and now batting right-handed. Aggressive.
You seen anything out there right now?
Just location, right down the middle, and Minnesota very aggressive. Sabathia trying to get strikes and getting too much of the plate with his fastball.
Dozier takes a strike.
The quick adjustment is that right there. Maybe a little late in this inning, but anytime you see a young team come out swinging early and often like Minnesota has the first time through the lineup, you got to mix in some first pitch breaking balls. You got to pitch backwards a little bit to keep them in check.
Stewart going through the signs in case Florimon takes off.
That's the real difference, Michael, between 95 miles an hour on your fastball and 90-91. Just can't get away with those pitches that get a lot of the plate early in the count as much.
Yankees had a similar situation yesterday. Wells on third, Almonte at first. Almonte takes off, Wells takes off, they throw through. Almonte doesn't stop, gets tagged before Wells crosses the plate. And after the game, Girardi took the total blame. He said, that's on me. I thought he would know that he should stop, and it wasn't communicated well enough. I don't blame him, I blame myself. And that's a lesson that Almonte will learn. I'm sure that Florimon saw that yesterday and knows that if he takes off, he can't be tagged before the runner crosses.
No doubt about it. In basketball, they call it court awareness. In baseball, when you're running the bases and you're stealing second, you peek over your shoulder, you see Wells break, then you know. You stop. It's a hard thing to teach. It can be taught, and then Joe Girardi's right. It needs to be communicated. A lot of little things and little plays throughout the course of a game that when you're offensively challenged, as the Yankees are this year, you've got to do those little things to manufacture runs. Sabathia, and he's shown that ability, Michael, this year at times, but you just have to get into that pitching mode sooner. You can't rear back and just rely on your fastball the first time through the order. Unless you're spotting it with a little bit of movement, you've got to pitch backwards. You've got to get your breaking ball over for strikes.
And there it is. So Dozier is down, and that will do it. But 2 runs for the Twins. We go to the bottom of the second. Hybrid vehicle of the Yankees. What was the best story of the first half of the season and why? That's how we started the conversation. JT Marlin said Chris Davis has been the best story so far. Also, Miguel Cabrera's continued offensive onslaught has been amazing. 2 pretty good stories.
Great stories. Could not agree more. Miguel Cabrera in the midst of a historical run, in my opinion. Significant offensive powerhouse over the last 5 years. It seems like Miguel Cabrera is in the MVP talk every year. No letdown. And of course, Chris Davis. Well, what's he going to end up this year with?
David, if Davis isn't there, you're talking about Cabrera maybe going back-to-back triple crowns. We'll see what happens in the second half. Follow Yes Network and tweet us your responses using hashtag Yankees Prius to keep the conversation going. You also have to give a little love to Fielder. Fielder in that lineup makes it almost imperative that you pitch to Cabrera. And that was a late pickup for them last year, late in the free agent market. It turned out to work out. There's Travis Happen, pinch hit double yesterday. But this has been a rough homestand for him, 2 for 20.
I think you could say that Detroit has kind of underachieved. I think they potentially are the best team in baseball offensively, and that starting rotation. Problems obviously in the bullpen. gave Valverde another chance and then released him. If they get that bullpen sorted out, Detroit is going to be hard to contend with. The Yankees have found out in postseason the last couple of years.
You would think, David, that they'd be in the market for one of these relievers that are available. There's a ground ball and grabbed there by Dozier, but it trickles away, so a base hit for Hafner. The Twins don't shift for Hafner like other teams do. That would have been a ground ball to the shortstop if they did.
Well, Michael's right. You see Florimon on the left side of second base, and we've seen extreme shifts on Hafner where the shortstop's well on the right side of second base. And that highlight is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealer, and that's the Yes Mo.
Wells fouls it back. Wells has come alive a bit on this homestand. 8 hits and 22 at bats, average to 242 now. Saw Glenn Perkins yesterday close out the game, and there's rumors he could be on the market. You think the Tigers would be interested? Some people have whispered Bobby Parnell of the Mets. Swing and a miss. Wells down on strikes. Heard a lot of rumors that Jabba could be on the trade market. Would the Tigers say he could close games? So there might be a lot of activity before the trade deadline. It's almost like they put together the Tigers, and it's a great painting, but they just don't have the frame to close it out. And without a closer, they're going to lose a lot of games, and they're going to lose games in the postseason.
The last piece of the puzzle, you're right, Michael, is sorting out the bullpen, and not just the closer, they're the setup guys as well, and getting everything right down there. Former Yankee Phil Koch has kind of struggled this year after a strong year last year, especially in postseason. He almost took over for Valverde in midstream. Did very well. Now, with regards to Jabba and Hughes, a lot of talk out there, about whether they're going to be traded at the deadline or hang in there, or they're both at the end of their Yankee run possibly. Well, they both still have a lot of value. Phil Hughes was excellent yesterday, aside from the solo shots, and Jabba is still one of the better power arms around, even though his numbers have suffered this year. And as a reliever, once you get a high ERA, it's hard to get it back down. 1 or 2 bad outings in the bullpen, but your numbers can look really ugly. But Jabba's thrown the ball much better his last 3 times out as well. So both of those guys have a lot of value. And they're going to pitch well if they end up somewhere else.
Joel Sherman had an interesting column in the Post today. He said they're not just going to give Phil Hughes up for a guy that could fill in for the second half of the year in a position. They want a guy that's going to be around a while, because they'll just offer Phil Hughes the qualifying offer, and if he signs somewhere else, well, they'll take the late first-round draft pick between the first and the second rounds, and that'll be worth better than somebody that just comes in for the second half. And also, if he does take that qualifying offer, which this year I think was about $13.3 million, they'll take him on a 1-year deal, and then you could deal him then too.
Yeah, that is the argument of why not just keep Phil Hughes? He's throwing the ball much better. The Yankees obviously are going to feel like they're going to make a pennant race, down the stretch, or be in a pennant race rather. I agree completely with that.
But I thought it was a telling comment by Joe Girardi in his pregame press conference today. He said this team has achieved everything that it could achieve in the first half. And he's not knocking his players, but they have really squeezed every last piece of juice out of the orange. With a bunch of guys that are backups and weren't even thought to be on this team this year, and they're 8 games over 500, but I think they need reinforcements. 3-2 runner goes. And the reinforcements could be Granderson and Jeter coming back healthy, and if A-Rod gets back healthy, A, and avoids a suspension, B, I mean, those are people that could help. Those could be the reinforcements.
Well, no doubt about it. And the more versatile you are as a baseball player nowadays, that's what everybody's looking for. You know, somebody that, you know, a right-handed complement to, say, Lyle Overbay here at first, who's done a great job for the Yankees, but they've asked a lot of him. And if they had a right-handed complement to platoon him or give him some days off at first base, that would be a big get for the Yankees.
Runner goes. Again fouled away. Reading Peter Gammons on Twitter, and he said that supposedly, reportedly, according to him, the Yankees checked in with the Phillies about Michael Young, and they were told he's not available. Don't know if that's true from the Yankees side, but that's what Gammons is reporting.
Now, Phillies are in a tough spot because they've had an incredible run. They have a beautiful stadium, and attendance is still up. So they're kind of behind the 8 ball on what to do. They can't really pull the ripcord, especially with the second wild card spot still out there.
Well, they are getting Hafner's running it for sure. Again, and it's ball 4. Throw goes through anyway. So a walk to Overbay. Hafner moves to second. So Gibson has his first runner in scoring position.
Yankees trying to answer right back after Sabathia gave up 2 in the top of the second. Got a rookie pitcher on the mound. Now finds himself in a little bit of a jam.
Now, speaking of the Phillies, Meredith Morakovitz tells us that their GM Ruben Amaro Jr. said the other day that if it were July 31st right now, we'd be buying, not selling. But it's not, so we don't know what they'll be. July 31st is still 17 days away. A lot can change in 2.5 weeks.
Well, they still have good pitching, even though some of their pitchers have underperformed a bit. They, you know, much like the Yankees, well, a couple of bats. They've had some injuries that have hurt them. Ryan Howard, as you said, going to be out for a while. Phillies, when you have a good pitching staff like the Yankees or the Phillies, boy, you just can't give in. You can, boy, if we can just get a little more offense, we can make a run.
And if you're the Phillies, how do you sell to your fans? We're going to start selling everybody out when we're 47 and 48, and just 7.5 games out.
Can't do it. Not when you're drawing 35 to 40,000 a night in a beautiful ballpark.
Hafner leads off second. Overbay off first. 1 man out. We're in the bottom of the second. Twins 2, Yankees nothing. And here's the 1-2 to Nunez. Inside 2-2.
Anticipate that inside fastball is going to set up the slider coming right here to Nunez. Try to see if they can get him to chase.
Hicks makes the play. 2 outs.
Went with the changeup instead. Down and away. Got Nunez out in front just enough. Tell you what, Michael, Gibson's got 3 really good pitches. He's shown a good slider, good moving fastball, up to 94 so far. You throw a changeup, a right-handed pitcher, to a right-handed batter in that situation, changeup to get him out. That's above average for a young pitcher. It took me about 5 years to be able to do that. So he's got confidence in all 3 of his pitches.
Luis Cruz at the plate. 1-0.
Such an important guy for the Twins here, Michael. We talked about him, #1 draft, got good stuff. You got Joe Mauer working you behind the plate. If you're a young pitcher, boy, that's a dream. Veteran guy. Just follow his lead. So important for young pitching. You know, Michael, when I broke in with the Mets, I had Gary Carter, and I didn't have to think. All the pressure's off. All you have to worry about is execution. You don't even have to think about pitch sequences or calling your own game. Trust that guy right there. He's pretty good. So Minnesota got a chance here. You know, if they can get some young pitching like Gibson up here to develop with a guy like Mauer, they can turn it around.
One count on Cruz and Stewart on deck. Walked him, bases loaded. Anderson, the pitching coach, comes out and talks with Gibson in an early big spot in this game.
Just give him a breather, settle back, go over the scouting report with Stewart. Make sure you know what you want to do here. What do you want to throw the first pitch? Gibson's stuff's moving all over the place. It's just a question of command. I was impressed with Duduno yesterday, Michael. Boy, he had some sick movement on his fastball. He faced 28 batters, Duduno, yesterday. 14 of them grounded out. Gibson also has good movement on his fastball.
Now you've got Hafner at third, Overbay at second, and Cruz is at first. Stewart at the plate. 2-0 Minnesota. We're in the bottom of the second. See, a lot of guys with the bases loaded, David, go from the full windup. Did you ever do that, and what was your decision on that?
Well, early in my career, I did do that, and it was more for a sense of rhythm. You just felt more comfortable from the windup. You could get a little more on your pitches, maybe a little more deception. But towards the end of my career, I went from the stretch. I did not want to just give free run for the runners to go, especially on a gapper in this situation.
That one's chopped to third. Carroll goes the short way, and they just get Cruz for the final out. No run to hit, and the bases left loaded. Let's go to the third. over after this game. Then the All-Star game can be seen Tuesday on Fox. And then it kicks into gear again Friday. Joe Girardi says this is a big, big series. That's the theater of the obvious. 3 games against the Red Sox starting Friday at 7:10 on Yes. The other 2 games, Saturday Fox, Sunday ESPN. They'll be followed by Yankees extra innings on Yes. And then a 4-game series against Texas back home against Tampa Bay. That's a rough stretch coming out of the All-Star break.
I'll be down there in Texas, Michael. Down to the Lone Star State. Watch the Yanks take on the Rangers.
Hydrate. Lincoln scoreboard 2-0. Minnesota.
Be my first time this year working with Kenny Singleton solo.
We mentioned this yesterday. The Twins are all in on Maurer. They signed him to an 8-year, $184 million contract, and he is signed through 2018. And he had them in a corner. I mean, he's a great player, but he's also a local kid. They couldn't let him get away, especially with the new ballpark opening and their revenues increasing. How could they justify letting him get away?
Well, it's a dream story. I mean, local boy done good. You're in the heartland, you're in Minnesota, and you get a kid like this coming out of high school. He's a stud, and you draft him, you develop him.
Right to Cruz.
No doubt he wants to be there. He's the leader.
He's done it all except win a championship at this point. Grew up in St. Paul, Minnesota. First overall pick. MVP in 09. 6-time All-Star. 3-time batting champ. As a catcher, 3-time Gold Glove winner. And people thought that if he had hit the free agent market, he probably could have gotten more from some teams.
Well, he's where he wants to be. He wants to help rebuild this franchise.
But then the big question is, can you commit $25 million or so to one player when your payroll is going to be about $100 million? Is it worth it to give 25% of your payroll to one guy?
Yes.
And still be able to build around him?
My answer to that's yes. That guy.
Right.
Not just any one guy. That guy, yes. And you look for ways to grow your revenues. There's more revenue sharing. Central Fund in baseball is growing. MLB.com is a huge success story.
Morneau with a shallow fly ball to right. And Cano's way out there and couldn't make the catch. Wells was nowhere near that ball. And you wonder if he ever even saw it. There's no way Cano should be that far out to have to make the play. That was Wells' ball. Wells not a right fielder by trade.
No, he's not. And usually, Wells played center and left. As you see, he just kind of froze at first. And then he's coming. The last thing he wanted to do was collide with Robinson Cano. So he just kind of peeled off.
Well, they'll score that a double. But CC Sabathia in his head thought that was 2 outs. It wasn't inordinately shallow, and it was very, very high in the sky, so there was plenty of time to get there. Here's Ryan Domit, pitch outside.
Cano ranging and off the web of the glove.
David, I watch CC pitch now, and he's a guy who lives about 91, 92, occasionally can get it higher. That's a guy who used to throw 96 miles an hour. You came up, you threw much harder than you did during your glory days. Is it a hard transition, mentally and physically, to become a pitcher without the pitch that got you to the big leagues?
Well, it can be for a lot of guys. But Sabathia's got more than just a fastball. He's got a great changeup and a really good slurvy kind of slider. You go to more two-seamers there. You see, I've seen Sabathia throw more two-seam fastballs than ever before in his career this year. That was one there. He uses it in on lefties. You've got to work on spotting your fastball better, make it move, and you've got to be able to get into that pitching mode sooner in the game. Saw Sabathia struggle the first time through the lineup. Gave up 2 runs at the top of the second. Didn't look like he was really in that pitching mode. All those hits were on fastballs out over the plate. You got to come right out of the bullpen to start the games with all your pitches working.
So it sounds like it's a harder job.
Well, it's a different mindset, that's for sure. You just have to really concentrate on pitching, spotting fastballs, mixing your pitches better. You're more worried about the mix of your pitches as opposed to in the olden days, hey, maybe the first time through the order, the first 3 innings, I'm just going to throw fastballs and maybe 1 or 2 secondary pitches. Gradually work my secondary pitches in for the second and third time through the lineup. It's no longer the case. You've got to be into that pitching mode and that mentality and that kind of a mixture earlier in the game.
And also, a lot of scouts have said that, you know, if you throw 97 and you miss your spot, you can get the out. If you throw 91, 92 and you miss your spot, you're going to get crushed. And there's a big difference. So you have to be there, as David said, location, location, location. 3-2. Pulled the string there as Doman goes down on strikes for the second out.
Case in point, 3-2. The old Sabathia would have reared back and threw a fastball. The new Sabathia going to drop a slider right on the inside corner, down and in. Doman way out in front, reading fastball out of the hand.
Here's Plouffe. 1-0.
Actually, you know, you sort of trick yourself, you know, mentality-wise as a pitcher, Michael. I actually thought I had more fun later in my career pitching with the Yankees with mixing up pitches and dropping down and throwing Laredo sliders and being creative on the mound. Actually, to me, at least I made myself think that was more fun.
There must be also an aspect of fun rearing back and saying, hit this.
Nice to have a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, too, or 95 whenever you want it.
You definitely have to become more of an artist. It's not about brute strength.
Case in point, you know, getting into the mode now. 2-0 to Trevor Plouffe, who's been swinging the bat well. He gets a slider in a good spot.
Chopped to short. Nunez, the high throw, pulls him off the bag. And Plouffe is safe as Morneau advances to third. That's the problem that reared its ugly head a lot last year, but they've been working on it with that. And most of its throws have been true, but not that time.
This is like a pitcher who flies open. Your arm drags and the ball sails. See, Nunez not really committed to that throw.
CeCe's probably thinking, well, my defense has not helped me this inning. He should be in the dugout. But instead, he's got first and third, 2 outs.
Mentality for a good pitcher, and Sabathia is one, is you pick up your defense when they make errors behind you.
And Hicks hits one deep to left field. Backing up Almonte, turning, looking. See ya! A 3-run home run for Aaron Hicks. And it is 5-0 Twins. No, he does not pick up the defense and really gets hurt.
He sped him up with a changeup. Out over the plate at 85 miles an hour. That allows Hicks to get the barrel of the bat out in front. Hitting the bottom half of the ball does the rest. Creating backspin. First pitch changeup. Thank you very much. 3-run Jimmy John.
And a first pitch changeup, when there's not that much of a difference between the fastball and the changeup, it's really a bad fastball. And Hicks crushed it. He's throwing 91 fastballs, 85 changes. That's not enough of a differentiation.
Little anger behind that last fastball, 94. Quick damage against Sabathia here. The Yankees behind the 8 ball now, 5-0.
And that just seems so big of a deficit with the way this team is not hitting. So Hicks with his 8th home run of the year.
Right before that pitch, I was mentioning the good pitchers. You're the ones that pick up your infielders when they make errors, but it's hard to overcome 2 in 1 inning sometimes.
He's essentially, David, having to get 5 outs this inning.
High degree of difficulty, and should have been back in the dugout. To Minnesota's credit, they took advantage.
This is a pitcher who in his last 10 starts against the Twins is 9-0, 1.87. So this is kind of startling. Broken bat looper. Backpedaling his Cano. He makes the play for the 5th out of the inning. Morneau reaches on a bloop to right that should have been caught. And then Eduardo Nunez on what would have been the 3rd out throws this ball away. And that gives Hicks this at bat, and he crushes a 3-run home run to make it 5-0 Minnesota. Now through July 31st, and by Benjamin Moore for everything that matters. All right, the Yankees have a 5-0 deficit they have to make up. Still early, though, and you're going up against a rookie pitcher, and that's the Lincoln scoreboard right there. And Ichiro will lead it off. And a strike. One and one. Line to right field. It's a base hit. Cut off by Domit. And a leadoff single for Ichiro. Here is Zoilo Almonte, and we'll take a look now at the Jeep hitters scouting report.
Well, we're going to look at a system guy. You know, he was signed by the Yankees as a non-drafted free agent in July of 2005, 1 month after turning 16 years old. You know, as a minor league all-star, he was selected to the Eastern League All-Star game following the 2012 season. when he had 21 homers and 70 RBIs for the Trenton Thunder. And with Teixeira out for the season, he's the only switch hitter on the Yankees roster right now. So a golden opportunity for a kid who signed when he was 16 and played 640 minor league games, Michael. So he earned his way here. Now's your chance. Almonte also impressed in spring training. Had some big hits in spring training. Really opened some eyes in the spring. That Trenton year kind of got him on the map. 21 homers and 70 RBIs in 2012. He's also handled himself in the outfield very well. Made some nice catches. He covers good ground out there.
And he's handled himself in the clubhouse well. I think people respect him. He doesn't act as if he's been there a long time. He knows his place. Very, very quiet. Goes about his business. He has not been a disappointment at all. Ground ball up the middle, off the glove of Dozier and into center field. Ichiro will go to third. Yankees runners on the corners and nobody out. We'll see how they score that. And it scored an E4.
Well, first of all, it's hit on the button. Dozier's playing a double play depth. The umpire might have screamed him a bit there. Dozier kind of a little half slide to get to this ball. He sees he breaks down. I'm not sure if he was temporarily blocked by the umpire, but you can see the big hop up and over the heel of the glove. As you see, Dozier moves to his right and the umpire moves to his left.
That's Lance Barksdale, second base ump. Now, Yankees have their chance now, David, with the heart of the order coming up.
Not really Barksdale's fault. I mean, he's got to be there, but interesting to talk to Dozier after this game and see if he got screened a little bit on that play. But it was hit hard by Almonte.
Cano hit one hard in the first inning, lined into a 9-3 double play. And that one is chopped right side and past the diving Dozier into right field. Ichiro will score. Almonte stops at second. An RBI single for Cano, and the Yankees are on the board. It's 5-1 Twins.
This is one of those, Michael, depends on whether you're a hitter or a pitcher. If you think this is unlucky or lucky. Good pitch from Gibson, ties up Cano. Dozier once again playing double play depth. 1, 2, 3 hops to get to the outfield grass. Needed a longer glove. Good effort. A little bit of luck factor playing in Cano's favor right there.
Here's Hafner. He had a single in the second inning. Count 0-1. Hafner, a .292 hitter with runners in scoring position.
The thing with both Wells and Hafner is after the torrid starts that they had in April and then the big slumps, there's got to be something in the middle there, Michael, somewhere near average. Huge highs and really deep lows for both Hafner and Wells. But recent history, the last few games, both of them getting better swings as well. And you got to find a happy medium.
This month by month, that's what David's saying. Is he 318? Probably not. Is he 174? Probably not. So I think the Yankees will take somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle from both of those guys.
Grounded and a diving stop by Morneau. Throws the second one. That's all they'll get. Morneau took away an RBI single. Almonte moves to third.
Well, Morneau kind of reminds me of Teixeira, a rangy first baseman, covers a lot of ground. Excellent play. Throw from the knees to get the lead runner. We talk about Morneau and his resume on the offensive side. Very underrated defensively.
Here's Vernon Wells, waved weakly at a breaking ball, low and away to strike out in the second. The Yankees need to keep chipping away. They're down 5-1. We're in the bottom of the third. Still plenty of time. But for an offense that has really been laboring to score runs, that's a big deficit. 1-0. Missed outside, 2-0.
Good take by Wells there. Borderline pitch, could have gone either way, but key for Vernon Wells, getting good balls to hit. When you get a hitter's count, 1-0, 2-0, Wells has always been lightning quick, middle in. So when you're ahead in the count, that's his strength. That's what he should sit on.
Fouls one back.
Well, that was it too. Good swing, fouled straight back. Good movement from Gibson as well.
Nothing on Friday. Yankees win 4-1 yesterday. They lose. Now it's 5-1 here in the bottom of the third. The rubber game. First and third, one out. 94-mile-an-hour fastball, 2-2.
1 for 2. Another borderline pitch down and in. Gets the call this time. Gets back even. Interesting that Mauer going with multiple signals here without a runner on second base. First and third. That's usually reserved for a runner on second base.
High fly ball, left field. Almonte is tagging. Thomas the catch. Here comes Almonte. Here's the throw. He's out. Great throw by Cleet Thomas to get Almonte for the final out of the bottom of the third. Almonte got sent by Rob Thompson. Cleet Thomas sets himself and then fires a strike all the way to Mauer, who has time to sweep and make the tag for the final out of the inning. Yankees 1 run, 2 hits, 1 error, and 1 man left. 1 out and 2 outs. 866 NY quit for free help today. Who are the only two Yankees to hit at least one home run each in 03, 04, and 09 in those ALDSs against the Twins? We go to the fourth inning and a breaking ball strike to Jamie Carroll. A couple of things, David. I guess it was the right move sending him there, right?
Well, you know, if you're in the Yankees situation here, you got to feel like you got to force the issue. You got a young outfielder out there, Cleet Thomas. Maybe didn't really have great scouting reports on him, although I'm sure they had an idea. And Almonte runs fairly well, so I can understand from Rob Thompson's standpoint that you got to try to push it and get another run there. I would have liked to have seen maybe a little more of a roundhouse slide attempt by Almonte, but you could see a little late on the break at third too. Made sure he had the catch, but just a straight in slide as opposed to sort of a looping trying to reach around the tag kind of slide, as Maurer was out in front of home plate when he caught that ball.
So the Yankees don't get much for the threat that they had, just one run, so it's 5-1 as we start the fourth.
But a good throw from young Cleet Thomas, though. Get it there all the way in the air to Maurer.
There's the Benjamin Moore scoreboard. Now the 5 runs by the Twins, all 5 scored with 2 outs. And David, I know you like the numbers, and maybe you can interpret this to me what it means. CC now has allowed 8 home runs this year with 2 outs. That's the most in the American League. What does that mean?
It's an anomaly, in my opinion.
Okay.
You know, I expect that to change in the second half. I expect Sabathia to get better in the second half. You know, we talked about it in the scouting report too, that he's had some leads he's given up this year, very un-CC-like. And usually when you give that guy a lead, you know, he's going to nail it down and hold it. So, yeah, quality of pitches, yeah, his stuff maybe down a tick in terms of velocity.
Punch the other way.
Those are the toughest ones to swallow, Michael, when you're on the mound. You're one pitch from getting out of the inning, and that much damage done with 2 outs. Very uncharacteristic.
And the home run he gave up to Hicks, and we've been talking about it off the air as well. The thing that's strange, if you throw a changeup on the first pitch of an at-bat, you're not changing up off anything. Yeah, he's throwing you pitches throughout the game, but in that at-bat, you're not changing up on anything. That's the first pitch you're seeing in that at-bat.
Yeah, it's hard. You know, first pitch changeup, you know, the idea on any first pitch is to get a strike. So when you throw in a changeup, you know, there's not a lot of margin for error. Either you try to get in the strike zone or you're trying to get a hitter to chase down and away.
And how effective is that changeup? And here's the home run we're talking about. At 85.
Well, 85 if it's got movement and it's down. We've seen Sabathia throw 85-mile-an-hour changeups and it's got a little movement down, a little sinking action to it. That one just kind of sat right there. It took a seat. And did Hicks a favor.
And Jamie Carroll works a walk.
Not just about the differential in velocity, Michael. It's about the quality of the pitch, the spin, the late movement on it, and the location.
Time Warner Cable customers, you won't have to miss a game again now that you can watch live Yes Network Yankee games on your PCs or laptops with Time Warner Cable. You get a full season of live Yankee games on the go for just $29.99. If you're a Time Warner Cable customer, go to yesnetwork.com to get more information and subscribe now. I guess what I think, though, David, is that if you throw a changeup and there's a 10 or 11 mile difference in velocity to your fastball, it doesn't have to have movement. You're just going to get somebody on the change of speed.
Exactly. 2 different styles, though. But if you'll notice, with Kuroda's splitter was 88 miles an hour at times. So just a 3 or 4 mile an hour difference sometimes with movement could be fine. The key with any first pitch for a pitcher is to try to throw for a strike. And if you're not going to throw a fastball, then you're trying to trick a guy. And if you're trying to trick a guy, you're usually better off on first pitches throwing a curveball or a breaking ball to try just to get a strike or get a guy to swing through it. But every first pitch you throw should be aimed for the strike zone somewhere to try to get it.
Runner goes, fouled away.
I'm not saying CC should never throw first pitch changeups, but depends on the hitter, depends on the sequence, and obviously the quality of that pitch wasn't what he was looking for. We've seen him throw 84, 85 mile an hour changeups that are high quality, that move, that go down like a sinker. CC gets a lot of ground balls with that changeup. That one got up in the air.
watching CC today, and you're seeing a lot of foul balls and not as many swings and misses, and that's been a problem for a lot of the season for Phil Hughes. And I don't know if there's just a tick below his good stuff, but he's not getting a lot of swings and misses on a team that's been swinging and missing a lot. He's got 3 strikeouts through 3 innings, which is good. But he's also at 73 pitches now. Nobody out here on the 4th.
He's already faced 17 batters. I'd like to face your 17th hitter maybe in the 5th inning. Certainly not 5th or 6th inning even. Part of that is not his fault. Defense has kind of let him down. 3 of the 5 runs he's given up are unearned. It's early in the game, and at some point, the Yankees need to make a statement offensively. Pick a pitcher up, too. A couple of errors made behind him. Now you're behind the 8 ball. CC's, struggling a bit today. It's a hot day. At some point, your offense has to really pick up a pitcher. Get back in this game somehow, some way.
Swing and a miss. Foreman down on strikes.
Well, this pitch has been pretty good. The slider. He's got some swing and misses, particularly with that pitch, but you're right, Michael, a lot of foul balls on his fastball, and he hasn't really found that changeup yet as in the early going so far. But CC always seems to still be out there in the 7th or 8th inning, no matter what happens. Still one of the true horses in the game.
Now in the bullpen today is Ivan Nova, and that's just in case a long game or an early outing for the starter. And Joe Girardi said that his 3 starters for Boston would be Pettit, Corona, and CC on Sunday. Runner goes. Popped up. And that makes the seats.
Throughout the course of the first half, you see Joe Girardi's had to do a lot of managing this year. The Yankee starters collectively have gotten 4.1 run support while in the game. That's the difference, not just run support overall. Realized run support. Run scored while you're the pitcher of record, while you're in the game. That 4.1 rate is 12th in the AL. Boston's first. Boston's offense gets their starting pitchers 5.7 runs a game to work with. That's why their record is what it is.
Looped into center field. And it's a base hit, and it gets past Ichiro, and it gets past Wells. Carroll will hold it third. It's a double for Dozier. Yankees playing a sloppy game here today.
Anytime you see a full swing and the ball is jammed, it's got a little spin, slicing spin, and when it hits the ground, it's going to shoot right. Unexpected from Ichiro as far as Wells. Wells is hustling, trying to back up Ichiro. Neither one of them expected that ball to kick right, and really had a slice spin coming off the bat. CC Sabathia's had a rough one so far today, not just in terms of his pitches, but in terms of support behind him.
Now that's going to bring up Mauer, and the Yankees have to bring the infield in. They're down by 4. Mauer's 0 for 2.
You're on the mound right here, Michael. It's a tough day. Boy, it's easy to kind of lose a little wind in your sails, but Sabathia's got to pitch this like it's the 9th inning. He's got to keep the score 5-1 by any measure.
0-2.
Good start to the at-bat against Mauer here. puts him in the driver's seat, but you're really looking for a strikeout right now. You see Preston Claiborne going to get hot.
Count 1-2.
Sabathia struck Mauer out with that slider the last at-bat, or his first at-bat rather. Got him to ground out to third in his second at-bat.
They check with the third base umpire. Carl Pazzi said no, he did not go.
Where it becomes a guessing game. For Mauer, you just saw 2 straight sliders. For Sabathia, do you have the feel of the seams of the ball in your hand to grab a 2-seamer and pound him inside with this pitch? What are you feeling right now? Can you get the ball in the inside corner, or do you go back to the slider again and take another chance with it?
Back to the slider. Keep throwing the same pitch over and over. It's got to get better and better.
The more looks a hitter like Mauer gets at a certain type of spin, the better he's going to be prepared. Game's been played for a long time, and it's always been up and in and down and away. It's 3 straight down and aways.
Fastball low on the count, now 3-2.
That was the right pitch. Didn't locate it. He caught Mauer off guard there. He did the 2-seamer, but he just couldn't get it where he needed to. Probably back to the slider on 3-2, especially with first base open.
That's a tough walk earned by Mauer. And the bases are loaded now for Morneau. Larry Rothschild will come out and talk with CeCe. This copyrighted telecast presented by authority of the New York Yankees and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the New York Yankees. Is this a breather time out here?
Oh, yes. You know, it's a hard day's work for Sabathia. You're at the top of the 4th with 1 out, and you already got 85 pitches.
That's how it breaks down per inning. 14 in the first was fine, but since then it's been tough sledding, and 26 right now with just 1 out and the bases loaded. Looking down at his finger, which makes you wonder, with the sweat, is he building up a blister? Morneau had the gift double and third, came around to score. He's 1 for 2. 0-1. With the bases loaded this year, Morneau is 7 for 10. That one is over the head of CeCe, and everybody is safe and a run scores. It has been that sort of day. 6-1 Twins. That's a base hit. He catches that. Probably get an inning-ending double play.
Well, it's official. Murphy's Law has happened here for CeCe Sabathia. And that is just a rarity. How often do you see a broken bat off a power hitter land right there? Sabathia with a good effort. It's not a play you work on in spring training very often, Michael. The old broken bat right over your head and go back and dive and try to catch it. Ball landed in the Bermuda Triangle.
There's Doman now. Bases loaded, still 1 out, 1 run in. Yankees playing a double play depth. Grounded to first and off the glove of Overbay and into right field. 2 more runs score. Doman makes a big turn. He's in a rundown. He'll get tagged out. Morneau stays at third. And the carnage continues. It's 8-1 Minnesota, and the crowd is booing the Yankees.
You could see off the end of the bat, Overbay goes to backhand. He almost looked like he got caught in between, whether he was going to try to get in front of it or then stopped and tried to backhand it. Ball came up a little higher than he thought. Play that he'll say after the game he should have made, obviously.
It is scored in error. And they're 2 away. And here's Trevor Plouffe. One and one.
Can't really pin all this on Sabathia, as you see the frustration from Rothschild, the pitching coach. Combination of a lot of variables. It really has been a Murphy's Law game for Sabathia. Look up on the board, you got a snowman. 8 runs. Didn't think that was going to happen today. At least Sabathia's career numbers against Minnesota.
Don't know how much longer they'll keep in CC with 92 pitches, down 8-1. This will be the 34th pitch of the inning. And it's strike 3 finally. But 3 more runs for the Twins. They're at the bottom of the 4th. It's 8-1 Minnesota. Quit line quiz. Who are the only two Yankees to hit at least one home run in each of the 03, 04, and 09 ALDSs against the Twins? Let's see the answer. Derek Jeter. And because we said two, Hideki Matsui is the invisible Yankee.
Godzilla.
Jeter and Matsui. Well, do the Yankees have comeback ability here today on a very hot Sunday? 4 days off in a row staring them in the face. A lot of teams are a little sluggish on the last game before the All-Star break. You see what the Benjamin Moore scoreboard says, 8-1 Twins. No excuses, shouldn't be any excuses. You can't play the way the Yankees have played today. But you've seen what you've seen, and now they have a big, big mountain to climb. Here's Overbay. And a strike.
Well, all the talk about Michael, the great first half, the Yankees, boy, overachieved. Nobody expected it. All the injuries. They're 8 games over 500. Well, they saved the ugliest game of the year, at least the first half, for the last game of the first half. Obviously, it ain't over yet, but so far, this has to rate as the ugliest game of the year.
If it could go wrong, it has gone wrong. Ground ball up the middle, a base hit for Overbay. Well, make sure you're at Yankee Stadium on Sunday, July 28th for one of the hottest collectibles of the season. It's Hideki Matsui Bobblehead Day. The second one in the new collectible series presented by AT&T. For tickets, log on to Yankees.com, visit the stadium ticket window, Yankees clubhouse shops, or you can call Ticketmaster at 877-469-9849. Well, I used to be in the dugout when games like this were happening, and what would Torrey say? Just chip away one at a time. Don't try to get all 7 at once.
Yeah, you would just focus on what you have left. A lot of at-bats. Just the bottom of the fourth here. A lot of swings, a lot of tries. You still got a rookie out there. Put some pressure on him. Get him in the stretch is the first thing you did, which is what Overbay did. Get a young pitcher working from the stretch. Get base runners on. Put pressure on him.
And a walk, so there you have it. First 2 runners are on. And here's Luis Cruz. There's a strike.
Good job by Mauer there. After a 4-pitch walk, comes back with a first pitch slider just to get me over. Get a strike. Change your release point. Get something in the strike zone, and now let's go back to work.
Count 1-2. Cruz walked in the second inning. Yankees have 5 hits against Gibson, but they are down by 7.
Cruz kind of helping out Gibson there, swinging it probably a pitch down and out of the zone.
The error by Overbay, his 3rd of the year. The error by Nunez, his 5th of the year. Remember, Nunez has not played that much this year, so 5 is a lot. Overbay is a pretty good first baseman, so he has 3, and that was a costly one. Did it hit him? He says it did. So that's going to load the bases. We're waiting to see if it was considered a foul ball. And Cruz in a lot of pain as Mark Littlefield comes out to take a look.
Gardenhire thinks he swung the bat, and Gary Cederstrom did check down to first base, and it was ruled by the first base umpire that it was not a swing. So even if it did hit him, if the bat went through the zone, it could still be a swing. But Cederstrom already asked for help, and that call's already been made.
And then also, did it hit the bat rather than the hand? Maybe that was discussed as well, but they did check with the base umpire, see if he went around. Let's take a look.
An immediate reaction by Cruz to pull his arm off the bat, so he did get hit, or he's an Academy Award winning actor.
What'd you think on the check, David?
I think that's a good call all the way around.
All right, so here's an opportunity for the Yankees. Bases loaded and nobody out for the number 9 hitter, Chris Stewart. One swing and get right back in this game. Ground ball is short. There's one. That's all they get. Yankees score a run as Overbay crosses. Now it's 8-2. And RBI for Stewart, first and third with 1 man out. That's going to bring up Ichiro.
First pitch swinging from Chris Stewart.
Count 0-1 to Ichiro, who's staring down. Couldn't believe that was called a strike. Ichiro's 1 for 2, fly ball to center, single to right, and he also scored. Did that get him? Nope, he skipped out of the way. You gotta have quick feet.
Slider down and in. Almost got the front foot as Gibson really choked that one off.
Ground ball to second. This could be 2. There's 1. Not in time. As Nunez touches home plate for the Yankees' 3rd run. Ichiro too fast. That was a double play ground ball.
It was, and I don't think there's any way, especially considering the combination of Florimon and Dozier. I think one of the best double play combinations in the game, and Ichiro smoking down the line. Easily beats it. That's all Ichiro. Outrunning the ball.
Here's Almonte. Fly ball left field. and caught by Thomas for the final out. Yankees get 2 runs back on 1 hit. 1 man left. We played 5. It's 8-3 Minnesota. Have to finish with 47. Big night last night for Tim Lincecum. He threw 148 pitches, walked 4, struck out 13, and had a no-hitter. It's been a rough go for Lincecum the last couple of years. He was once one of the best starters last year in the postseason. Pretty much worked out of the bullpen, but pitched the 15th no-hitter in franchise history. That was last night against the Padres. Well, the Yankees make the call to the bullpen, brought to you by AT&T. CC is done, and the Yankees bring in Preston Claiborne. This is his 25th game. The line on CC not too good in his final start of the first half. And Claiborne will deal to Aaron Hicks. There's a strike. Claiborne throws strikes. Yankees are down by 5. Count 0-2. Count 1-2. You know, we're talking about Lincecum and what he did yesterday, and how he used to be the pitcher for the Giants. He's in the final year of a 2-year contract, and you wonder if he was still the guy with this big future in front of him. You wonder whether the Giants will re-sign him, whether they would let him to 148 pitches.
Hard to take a guy out of a no-hitter. I tell you, Tim Lincecum, you would have to chain him to the dugout bench to keep him from going out and try to complete that.
Hicks swings and misses.
Lincecum, one of those guys that just had such a heavy workload early in his career at a young age. Lose a little velocity, a little arm strength. Pitching arm is a funny thing. General managers around both leagues are looking at extensive medical data, trying to come up with formulas that work to protect young pitchers.
And you wonder, David, if they're really a foolproof formula?
No, there is not. It is educated guesswork based on incomplete medical data.
And then when you see what the Nationals did last year with Strasburg, maybe cost themselves a chance at a World Series. and he's not pitching as well as he was last year or this year. Not pitching poorly. His record's not great, but his numbers are not terrible. But did they do the right thing there? Driven out to left field. Almonte makes the play. And the Mets are starting the same deal right now on Matt Harvey. You know, they skipped him over yesterday. He's not going to pitch until late next week, and they're hoping that he gets to start in the All-Star game.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to hold back a horse like that. I mean, that guy's going 7 innings, 8 innings every time out. He's among the league leaders in innings pitched the first half in the National League. And they say they're going to cap him at 200 innings. You know, Harvey's old school. He goes deep into the games.
Well, right now he's on pace for about 240. But they are doing what a lot of people wanted the Nationals to do, so you have to give them credit. Rather than shut him down at a point, they're going to skip him over a couple of times, shorten him a couple of times as well, but not completely shut him down at the end of the year.
I'm a firm believer in that. A skip a start, maybe even a modified 6-man rotation. I think it kind of starts in the minor leagues as well. You know, the Houston Astros have employed a system in their minor leagues where they don't have 5-man rotations in their lower levels. They have 6, 7, 8 starters as they try to develop more starters, get a better look in the minor leagues, and develop more guys.
See, that's debatable as well, because the reason these guys have to get shut down up here is they're not getting the necessary innings down there. So if you go to a 6 or 7-man rotation, you're still going to get a guy who's coming out with maybe 100 innings at his highest minor league level. And what you're trying to do, they think in their theory that you can't jump a guy more than 30 or 4 innings per season.
Yeah, that's kind of based on the Tom Verducci rules, who did extensive research on young pitchers who increased their workload year over year by over, I believe, 50 innings or somewhere in that range.
Strike 3. Carroll down looking, so a strong relief inning for Preston Claiborne. We're halfway through here at the stadium. Twins 8, Yankees 3. With America's fastest, most reliable internet. That's powerful. Pettit on Friday, Kuroda on Saturday, Sabathia on Sunday against the Red Sox at Fenway Park. 8-3, Twins lead. Robinson Cano leads off. Grounded just foul. I guess in finishing off our point about pitching, David, there's such a dearth of starting pitching that they kind of rush guys up. They've got to get them up to the big leagues. It's just not enough, and they get them there before they've thrown the requisite innings and stretch themselves out.
Yeah, it's hard to come out of the minor leagues and be a 200-inning guy like Matt Harvey's doing this year. A very rare occurrence. Speaking of Tim Lincecum, he threw 880 innings between 2008 and 2011.
Cano with a high fly ball left center. Hicks on the run, makes the play smoothly for the first out. That'll bring up Hoffman. Travis 1 for 2, a single, and reached on a fielder's choice. Kyle Gibson knows he's 2 outs away from qualifying for a win. Now Florimon, for the first time for Hoffman, moves to the second base side of the bag. He had been playing on the shortstop side of the bag and now moves over. Moved over right in the middle of the at-bat.
Especially with a 2-0 count.
Adam Warren up for the Yankees. High pop-up. Dozier makes the play. 2 outs. MLB.tv is celebrating 11 years. Join the millions of fans and subscribe today. Watch every out-of-market game live online on your favorite mobile and connected devices in HD quality with MLB.tv Premium. Visit MLB.tv today. MLB.tv, baseball everywhere. Vernon Wells takes a strike.
One thing that has really changed in today's game is the overall pitch counts, Michael. Did a little research before the game. There's 2 pitchers that have thrown 130 pitches this year, and that's the high. Darvish and his near perfecto, and Anibal Sanchez in his 18 strikeout game.
And now Lincecum.
There's only been 19 games this year where guys have thrown 120 pitches or more. I used to average about 135 pitches.
Wow. When do you think it happened? When was the line of demarcation?
It started to gradually change over the years, and somehow, that 100-pitch mark became magical for a lot of teams and a lot of decision makers.
Now, you said earlier that you lost velocity as your career went along. Do you think it's because they let you throw so many pitches?
It's hard to say. I'm sure wear and tear is a factor, without a doubt, and I'm sure young age plays a part.
That one's popped up. Dozier makes the play as the Yankees go down in order 1-2-3 against the rookie Kyle Gibson. We played 5 at the stadium. It's 8-3 Twins on Yes.
pick up the ball, and Robinson Cano has to go too far. Nunez looks like he's throwing a bar of soap. You got a kick right on a sand wedge, where both outfielders are caught in between, and then this is where Mr. Murphy shows up. Murphy's Law is now in effect here in the Bronx, and Lyle Overbay with a bad hop on an in-betweener. So what can go wrong will go wrong, and CC Sabathia is out of this game.
Well, it's time for the game summary, brought to you by your local Nissan dealer. 8-8-1, 3-5-2, and it's more than 2. Those are the actual errors, but they're doubles that should have been caught. Just an awful performance by the Yankees today. A 3-run home run by Hicks. Morneau 2 for 3, a double, an RBI, and a run scored. Sabathia lasted just 4. 8 runs, but 3 of them earned. New pitcher for the Yankees. Claiborne goes 1, so Adam Warren comes on, and you see Warren has really taken a step up from last year. Joe Girardi said he's taken the step up that David Phelps took last year. Throwing harder, more aggressive. And Florimon fouls it away.
Well, as with most organizations about this point in the year, you take inventory. And what are the Yanks' strengths and what are the weaknesses? And we spelled those out. But the Yanks were to think about making a trade. The strength they have to deal from is the pitching. They certainly have depth. Adam Warren could be a starter. Was a starter in the minor leagues. David Phelps, very versatile as well, similar to Warren when he comes back from the DL.
Florimon down on strikes.
So it's not just about needs. It's about a matchup, and you see Warren up and in. And the check swing. But it's not just about, hey, the Yankees need to go find a bat. You got to match up with an organization that has your weaknesses and needs your strengths. So it's much more than just go get a guy or go get a bat. About finding the right organization that has the right pieces of the puzzle. And the Yankees' strength is obviously their depth in the pitching staff.
Fly ball center field. Ichiro puts it away for the second out.
Now, with that being said, Michael, you've got to look at some of the age on the Yankee starters as well and plan for the future. And it's hard to trade away some of this young depth when you know you're going to need them in the next few years.
Yeah, there's a good chance that you don't have Andy next year. There's a good chance you don't have Kuroda next year. So you have to fill those spots. Here's Joe Mauer, 0 for 2 with a walk and a run scored. 1-0. One and one.
Mauer's walk in the 4th off Sabathia. After getting down 0-2, battling back, spitting on sliders.
Line drive, base hit. Past Overbay and down the right field line. Playing it in the corner is Wells, and Mauer picks himself up a double. Well, later today, stick around for a new WB Mason Presents the Joe Girardi Show as Joe recaps the first half of the season. Then on Yankees on Deck, see what happens in art class when Curtis Granderson heads back to school. It's all coming up later after the postgame, only on Yes. So Warren gives up a double with 2 outs, and that'll bring up Morneau. And a strike. Warren last pitched on July 8th, so 6 days ago.
Hard to defend a guy like Mauer that goes line to line. Double down the right field line this time.
Squibbed into the hole left side. Grabbed there by Nunez, and that's going to keep Mauer at third. So a base hit for Morneau. Third base hit of the day.
It's pretty incredible. The last 2 swings that Morneau's produced have been squib jobs. And he's got 2 knocks. Here comes another one. Just fighting that off. Muscling that little squibber. As Nunez playing up the middle. He's got to go and just corral it. That's living right for Justin Morneau so far today. All looks the same in the box.
That's funny. He has 3 hits, and really, any of the 3 would you write home about? Pop up to right, pop up over the pitcher in that one. But he'll feel better about life that he has 3 hits. They don't give you style points, they give you batting average points. The 0-1. 0-2.
That's why a lot of sabermetricians like to look at batting average on balls in play as sort of an indicator, potential indicator of the luck factor. You'll hit them where they ain't.
Doman fouls it away. One of the reasons that Girardi really likes Warren, he said he's in the toughest spot on the roster. He can go 10 days without pitching, and then he's got to come in and maybe give you 5 innings and pitch effectively, and somehow stay sharp without leaving in the bullpen when you are getting you throwing in. It's a tough, tough job for a young player. And Warren has filled it well. The 0-2. That one's chopped to third. Cruz gets Domit, and that'll do it here in the 6th. No runs, 2 hits, no errors, and 2 men left on base. We go to the bottom of the 6th. 8-3 Twins. They travel to Boston to kick off what's going to be a big series. They begin the second half of the season. They could gain some ground against the first-place Red Sox. Coverage starts at 6 with outing batting practice today, and the Tri-State 4 pregame is only on Yes. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning. Twins 8, Yankees 3. Kyle Gibson still in there, trying to pick up his 2nd win. He's 1-2. It'll be Overbay, Nunez, and Cruz here in the bottom of the 6th.
Talked about pitch counts going down over the years for starters, Michael. I would assume this is probably young Kyle Gibson's last inning, sitting here at 88 pitches in the 6th.
Foul ball. Swarzak and field bar.
Overall, Michael, Gibson's shown good stuff today. Struggled at times, worked his way out of a couple of jams. 51 strikes and 40 balls, not the best ratio. But the stuff is there. Good live fastball up to 94 with good movement. Tight little slider and a good changeup. So he's certainly somebody they're looking to be a building block in that rotation. For Minnesota, the question is having the patience to allow these kids to develop.
And Overbay works a walk, so he's on base for the 3rd time. 2 walks and a single. So Mauer settling down the kid, also giving the bullpen a little more time. Eduardo Nunez walking slowly to the plate, expecting Gardenhire to make the call, and he does. He calls on the right-hander. So that's going to do it for Gibson. He goes 5 plus 1 batter, and he will leave with a chance to win this game if the Twins bullpen does its job. Yankees are down by 5. Runner on first, nobody out here in the 6th. Stick around. They could make a run. .com to learn more. By Centerlight Healthcare, Centerlight, proud sponsor of the New York Yankees. And by your Tri-Honda dealers. Hurry to your local Tri-Honda dealer for great deals on the 2013 CR-V. So Kyle Gibson, his day is done. Now he's a spectator, as his bullpen is entrusted to get the final 12 outs. The first guy they call on is Anthony Swarzak.
Good control, 12 walks, 57 in the 3rd innings.
So Overbay on first. Nunez is at the plate. 0 for 1 with a walk and a run scored. Count 0-1. Quickly 0-2. Slow roller. Going to be a very tough play. In fact, it will be no play. A base hit for Nunez. So the Yankees getting runners on. Now first and second, nobody out.
A little payback for the Yankees. We noted the Twins and some of their squibbers that have fallen in. Turnabout is fair play, and Swarzak was the only one with a chance for this play. He's got to get there, and once he doesn't, there's no chance. As Nunez with the familiar helmet drop. That one not only came off his head, he kicked it with his heel. Swarzak's been a horse this year for the Twins and really in the league. He leads all major league relievers with 57 in the third innings this year. And it's a product of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Born and raised in Fort Lauderdale, still lives there. He's a second-round draft by the Twins back in 2004. He's predominantly a starter in his minor league career, but like a lot of starters come up to the big leagues, and we mentioned Adam Warren, they find success in the bullpen. He looks like a reliever now, pitching exclusively from the stretch and having success.
Two and two.
Still think about Fort Lauderdale as Yankee country, Michael.
Yeah.
All those years of spring training over there.
That was their spring training home through 1995. The first year they trained in Tampa was 1996.
One of the best stops in the Florida State League, Michael, as a young 19-year-old playing in A-ball. I was playing for the Fort Myers Royals, and boy, you love going over to Fort Lauderdale. Hit the strip.
Had a very New York feel to it, kind of a South New York feel.
Good league, that Florida State League.
First and second, nobody out. The count 3-2 on Cruz. Yankees need base runners. They're down by 5. 8-3 Twins. Overbay at second. Nunez is at first. Chopped to short. Let's see if they turn two. There's one. And they do turn two. 6-4-3. Overbay moves to third.
Swarzak's got the ability to do this because of the movement on that fastball, running in on Cruz, tying him up, and tailor-made. One pitch, 2 outs. rally killer.
Runner at third. They'd like to pick that one up as the innings tick off. Chris Stewart takes high, 1-0.
Still a very important at bat here for Stewart. You pick up a 2-out RBI, Yankees could get within 4. You're down 8-1, Michael, early in the game, but you just want to get to some point later in the game where you have a chance. Preferably with Cano up. And a chance to drive in a couple of runs, or a 3-run homer can tie it up. You want to get yourself in a position to have meaningful at-bats at the end of the game. Every little bit helps. The old chip away theory.
Ichiro on deck. Three and two.
Good stuff from Schwarzak. 94 miles an hour. Just down and away. Borderline. Kind of held his pose after that pitch. Kind of hoping he'd get a strike.
Fly ball right field. And that'll do it. So first and second, nobody out. The Yankees can't get it done. They lead one. We go to the seventh. The Toyota Prius, official hybrid vehicle of the Yankees. All right, we're going to the seventh inning. Yankees are trailing this one by a score of 8-3 on the Lincoln scoreboard. Adam Warren, the third Yankee pitcher. CC Sabathia lasted 4, gave up 8 runs, 5 unearned. Preston Claiborne pitched a 1-2-3 fifth. Adam Warren a scoreless 6th. He's still in there. Plouffe, Hicks, and Thomas against Warren. After the game, both the Yankees and the Twins and the rest of Major League Baseball will enjoy the All-Star break. And with the new collective bargaining agreement, it is now a 4-day rest rather than 3. The last couple of years, some teams had 3, some teams had 4, which seemed a little bit unfair. Now everybody gets 3. Everybody gets 4, and the second half will start on a Friday.
Yeah, but it helps now that you've balanced out both leagues. Each league has 15 teams, with Houston obviously moving to the American League. Which is why there's an interleague game every day, or an interleague series every day. You got to have somebody to play. Odd numbers, 15 and 15.
Today it's the Phillies and the White Sox. Plouffe swings and misses. You got big plans for the break, David? I know we rejoin each other on Friday at Fenway.
Yeah, not really. I got a pretty good stretch. As I said, I'm going to drive up to Boston, do the game with you Friday night. And, of course, Fox has the Yankee game Saturday and ESPN Sunday. So I'm going to drive back from Boston, go to the Justin Timberlake concert here at the stadium on Saturday night. My sister's coming in town. And then I got to catch a flight to Texas and go down there with Kenny Singleton and work with them. And actually was wrong earlier. I worked with him in Kansas City earlier this year. I always enjoy working with Kenny Singleton, one of the best. Looking forward to that Texas series with him. So I got a little busy stretch here. No time for Hamptons vacations right now.
Speaking of Texas, today Justin Verlander had a no-hitter going into the 7th inning against the Rangers, broken up by Mitch Moreland. But Tigers lead that game 5-0, bottom of the 8th inning right now. Oakland still leading the West coming into today's action. Texas 1 game back. The Angels 10 back. And Detroit holding on against Cleveland. Terry Francona's done a great job. 1.5 games back, the Indians are. Hicks grounds out back to the mound. And in the East, it's Boston leading Tampa Bay by 3.5. Baltimore by 5.5. The Yankees by 6.
I think when you look out west, Michael, and you look at that Oakland franchise and that team going right now, Billy Beane is a great general manager. Obviously, a lot of accolades, Moneyball, what you believe in and what you don't. But truth of the matter is, Bob Melvin and Chili Davis, former Yankee Chili Davis, as the batting coach out there, have done an unbelievable job with that team. A lot of young pitching. Talk about how you turn a franchise around in a hurry. If you're Minnesota and you're the front office, you look out west, you look to Oakland and how they did it. And some of the trades they made, and they picked the right guys, and they gave young starters a chance, and they have come through for them.
And their ability to turn over rosters every couple of years when the players start to become a little bit too expensive. They do a good job identifying the ones that are close in other organizations and trading their players there. And you also have to hit on a Jonas Cespedes every now and then, which is what they did. Three and 2 on Cleet Thomas. Swing and a miss. Thomas down on strikes. A 1-2-3 inning for Adam Warren. At the end of 6.5, it's time for the 7th inning stretch here at the stadium. Twins 8, Yankees 3, but we'll stay right where we are to honor America here in the Bronx.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and move your caps. And please direct your attention to the area behind home plate. And welcome two honored guests of the New York Yankees. United States Army Sergeant Nelson Garcia who served in Operation Iraqi Freedom. And United States Army Sergeant Angel Rivera Jr., who also served in Operation Iraqi Freedom. The Yankees say thank you for your sacrifice and service to our nation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please join in Kate Smith's rendition of God Bless America.
Morakovitz on the post-game show. All right, Yankees running out of time here in the Bronx. Now they'll face Caleb Thielbar. This will be his 20th game. Pretty neat ERA, 0.43. They'll face the top of the Yankee order. Ichiro, Almonte, and Cano. (8-3) on the Cadillac scoreboard. And there's a strike to Ichiro. Kyle Gibson started, pitched into the 6th inning. Swarzak came on, got the final 3 outs without allowing another run. And now it's Thielbar's turn.
It's been quite a run for Thielbar. You know, he was signed as a minor league free agent. In 2011, he was an A-ball last year. A-ball, AA, and AAA all last year. Finds himself in the big leagues, off to a great start to his major league career. Came from the St. Paul Saints independent league team. Really good independent league team up there in St. Paul.
If you remember, David, it was that team that Darryl Strawberry was on before he signed with the Yankees.
The difference between independent minor league teams and affiliated minor league teams is that independent teams don't get supplied their talent. You've got to go out, scout, and sign your talent. Whereas affiliated minor league teams are provided talent. So it's really old school in the independent leagues. You got to do all the work yourself, and then when you develop a player, you sell them to a major league team.
Three and two. See what the Twins are doing. They're building up their bullpen. They've got some nice arms out there. They got to fill in some spots on their starting rotation. They're not that far removed from being a playoff team. They were the Central Division champions in 2010. So they've had 2 bad years in a row. And this one, they're really in a tough stretch right now. Very consistent organization. They won the Central Division 6 times, 02, 03, 04, 06, 09, and 10. They knocked out 3 times by the Yankees. They won 2 World Championships in 87 and 91. And the manager of those teams, Tom Kelly, from Jersey. And he turned it over to Ron Gardenhire. Thielbar just got put back on the roster. He was away from the team on bereavement leave. His grandmother had passed away. That one is driven to right field. There it goes. See ya. A home run off the bat of Ichiro. It's now 8-4 Twins.
This is going to break a string of 31 straight at-bats without a hit off of Thielbar. And the last one he gave up was a home run to Ben Zobrist on July 8th. And now this one, Ichiro Suzuki. Ichiro continues his success against left-handed pitching this year.
Down 8-1 at one point. Now it's 8-4. Count 0-1 on Almonte. 1-1. Almonte, a switch hitter now from the right side. Thielbar's spot on the roster was filled by Michael Tonkin. There's a fly ball to deep right. Doom it back on the track at the wall, and he makes the play for the first out. So he drove Doman to the wall, but just a long out.
A little too far over towards the auxiliary scoreboard. If he hits it back towards the W.B. Mason sign, that's out of here. As you can see the angle of that wall from the right field foul pole going straight out through that auxiliary scoreboard.
So now Thielbar against Cano. Burton joins Correa. Bottom of the 7th inning. 8-4 Twins. 2-0 count on Robinson Cano. Cano cannot believe that call. Now takes a little stroll.
Get another look here at what Michael's talking about. Actually, Ichiro, rather. If you ever watch Ichiro take BP, that's a regular sight in batting practice.
Cano has to get his home run swing working tomorrow. He is the captain of the American League team in the Home Run Derby. And he'll go up against the National League's captain, David Wright. Yankee and a Met in the All-Star game, which will be played Tuesday at Citi Field in Queens. First time it's been in Queens since 1964. Last time the Yankees hosted an All-Star game was the last year of the old stadium in 2008. And in that home run derby, Josh Hamilton just put on a show.
Yeah, Josh Hamilton hit all those home runs in the first round and then kind of petered out a little bit towards the end, and Morneau ended up winning that home run contest.
Cano works a walk, checked his swing. Confirmed emphatically by Vic Carapazza. Here are the team participants. Chris Davis with 37, Prince Fielder 16, Yoenis Cespedes with 15. Robbie has 21, and on the National League side, David Wright, Bryce Harper, Michael Kadire, and Pedro Alvarez was added to replace Carlos Gonzalez.
Pedro Alvarez, local product out of Horace Mann.
Which means he did not skate through school. Horace Mann's tough.
Tough school to get into, tough school to complete.
And they've been giving David Wright a little bit of a hard time this weekend in Pittsburgh because he initially did not choose Alvarez. Alvarez only an injury replacement, which is somewhat reminiscent of what Robinson Cano went through with Billy Butler last year when he did not choose him and the game was in Kansas City. And Alvarez proved a point. He hit a home run his first time up when they played the Mets on Friday.
I know marketing's important, Michael, and certainly Major League Baseball does a great job and has, especially with the All-Star game, but I don't like the idea of a captain and players being put in that position to pick opposing players to be on a home run squad. I don't see the advantage.
And Hafner down on strikes. And Hafner talking things over with Cedarstrom. Well, as they have their little talk, Ron Gardner has his little walk out to the mound. And he's going to take the ball from Thielbar. He's going to go to a right-hander to face Vernon Wells. Runner on first base, 2 outs. Yankees down 8-4, and the Twins go to the pen. Show as the skipper recaps the first half of the season. Then on Yankees on Deck, see what happens in art class when Curtis Granderson heads back to school. It's all coming up later after the postgame, only on Yes. Jared Burton will face Vernon Wells. .43rd game for Burton. Less than a hit per inning and 36 strikeouts and 40 in a third. So far today, Wells is 0 for 3. Struck out in the second. Hit a fly ball that turned into a 7-2 double play in the third, and then popped a second in the fifth. Why would Gardenhire make this move? The numbers are very clear why he makes it. Wells hits .294 against lefties, .212 against righties. There's a strike to Wells.
The Yankees kind of hanging around in this game. See 2 outs here. Wells, righty on righty. Yankees bullpen's done a good job. 3 straight goose eggs, the 5th, 6th, and 7th. And as I said before, if the Yankees can just get within striking distance.
Ground ball to third. Jamie Carroll goes the short way, and that will do it in the 7th. Yankees get a run on 1 hit. They lead 1. We're going to the 8th. 8-4 Twins. Curry review the key moments from today's finale, plus Meredith Marakovitz is in the clubhouse with the team's reaction. And there's Joe Girardi's manager's report. It's the WB Mason postgame. It's only on Yes. Hyundai scoreboard, 8-4 Twins. Adam Warren in for his 3rd inning of work. They'll face 8, 9, and 1 in the Minnesota order, starting with Jamie Carroll. Count 1-0.
Warren has been impressive, Michael, and you said it before. It's hard, irregular work, not knowing when you're going to pitch. He's coming today. He's throwing 22 strikes and only 8 balls. Hasn't walked anybody. Good fastball. 4-seam fastball usually, although he gets a little movement on a 2-seamer. He's got a good slider and an improving changeup as well. Usually guys that can do this sort of job, Michael, have good mechanics. You know, the old saying is, oh, I felt too strong, you know, my control's a little off. Some guys, you know, they get too much rest, their control suffers. If you've got good mechanics, like Warren does, solid delivery, you should be able to harness that extra power you feel when you feel a little strong. Jamie Carroll, a dangerous line drive into the Yankee dugout, and you see a little short drop step, pick it up, put it down. Nice solid finish. Very much under control.
You see enough stuff there, David, for him to be a starter?
That's the next question. I think he's going to get an opportunity at some point.
Did he hold up? No, he did not. They get the out at first, so it's a strikeout, put out 2-3. 4th strikeout for Warren. To vote for the Chevy Player of the Game, visit votechevy.com. Results will be revealed in the postgame show.
Generally, the last piece of a puzzle when you're evaluating a young pitcher who's got good stuff is his finish pitches. Does he have that put-away pitch? You know, Warren is still developing his secondary pitches, but I've seen a lot of improvement this year. Maybe he doesn't have that one, you know, devastating slider or a secondary pitch like a splitter that's a strikeout type pitch, but the total package is coming together. That's why a lot of, you see Boone Logan getting ready. A lot of people talk about Ivan Nova. You know, trying to evaluate Nova and his ups and downs, and recently pitched so well. It's about that curveball he's got. He does have good finish stuff. With Nova, it's just been about command and consistency. His stuff has never been in question. And Florimon here, 1 for 3, has had a good series.
Another base hit for Florimon. Wells going to cut it off. Florimon's going for 2. Here's the throw. Not in time. Good throw by Wells. A double by the Twins shortstop. This is likely going to be the last batter for Warren. It's Brian Dozier. After that, you've got Maurer and Morneau with Logan warming up.
But Florimon's a good athlete. Moves well, plays shortstop well, rangy. Turned that single into a double right out of the box.
Dozier today is 1 for 4. Double and a run scored. Good lead at second. The 2-1. chop over the middle. Off the glove of Cano, and then it caroms into center field for a base hit. Going for two is Dozier, and he'll make it. So it's a double for Dozier, an RBI. Florimon scores. It's 9-4 Twins.
You get back-to-back speed doubles as Dozier with the high hopper, and Cano just cannot make a pick on the backhand side. As you see, this is a tough chance for Cano, and it's all or nothing. And it ends up nothing, and with Dozier's speed, he ends up on second base.
Well, Joe Girardi's going to go to the bullpen. He'll bring in the left-hander Logan to face the lefty swinging Maurer. It's 9-4 Twins. That game, they're up 2-0, and it's on the line, and he comes in to face three left-handers in a row.
Well, he did, and in the rain as well. And this was, to me, the key part of the game. And some tough hitters. There's a good lock-up front door slider to Maurer, and then Morneau with the check and the frustration. Boom, Logan came in and punched out the side to save that game. Sometimes the saves come earlier than the ninth inning.
So he's on to face Maurer. Maurer 1 for 3 with a walk and a run scored.
Hear the expression, Michael, you know, in basketball, they talk about a guy that's a pure shooter, somebody that's just you know, a good stroke, good mechanics. Well, this is baseball's version of a pure hitter. Perfect mechanics, great swing, hits the ball to all fields.
He's had 4 hits and 10 at-bats against Logan.
Just no wasted movement in Maurer's swing. His setup, if you're a young kid, look at this setup, look at this approach, and the mechanics. The way he takes pitches, always under control. You hardly ever see him lunge and get out in front. You're a young left-handed hitter, pretty good guy to follow right here.
He's an all-world athlete. Many people think he could have been a quarterback in the NFL. He had quarterback scholarship offers coming out of high school. He was All-American everything in high school. But selected by the Twins, and that's where he went.
Just certain guys that look so solid in the box, Michael. And as a pitcher, trying to read them and read the bat, boy, Mauer's just very hard to read.
This ground ball to first. Overbay steps on the bag. For the second out, as Dozier moves to third. There's Mauer at the quarterback position. Pretty good basketball player, too. That familiar aluminum bat ping. Once in high school he struck out. Just once. And that guy who struck him out probably still bragging about it. Here's Morneau.
One weakness in Mauer's game, he didn't have that much speed.
Right.
Most catchers don't. He's got 4 out of the 5 tools.
Did not go around. 2-0. First 2 games of the series, the Twins were 0 for 15 with runners in scoring position, but today they're 6 for 15. A lot of opportunities, and they've cashed in. 2-0. Grounded to first, so Logan comes on and does a good job again getting the M&M boards to end the inning. 1 run, 2 hits, and 1 man left on base. Going to the bottom of the 8th. Yankees down by 5. Have great speed. Well, we went way back, the way back machine, back to T-ball, David. Rate the speed. That's little Joe Mauer.
Wow, what a lash. What a swing. That's as fast as he ever was in his life right there.
Wow, he got around, huh? Well, that's also before he grew to 6'6". That'll slow you down.
Squatting behind home plate will slow you down, too.
Hyundai scoreboard 9-4 Twins. And the pitch to Overbay is low. Well, this is the 51st home date for the Yankees, so 30 more regular season games here in the Bronx. And today's attendance, 43,131. Obviously, many have left once the game got out of hand. And that put them over 2 million for the first half of the season. They have the highest attendance in the American League, fourth best in the majors, but their attendance is down, as is most attendance around baseball. They're down just about 4,000 a game, a little under 4,000. As Overbay continues a perfect day, 2 for 2 with 2 walks. Yankees, I think, last year averaged about 43, 44,000. This year they're averaging about 39. And David, is there a rhyme or reason why attendance is down around baseball?
No, I mean, it's, other than saying that certain things can be cyclical, but there's still a long ways to go. Still have the second half run here. But certainly the way that tickets are delivered, the delivery system for tickets around the league in regards to StubHub or secondary ticket market has shaken things up across all professional sports. So how you acquire your tickets has had an impact without a doubt.
Runner on first, nobody out. Overbay on first, Nunez at the plate. Burton, the fourth pitcher used by the Twins. There's a strike.
Got a lot of buddies that like to go to Yankee games, Michael, and Mets games for that matter. And a lot of them like to wait till the last minute. Try to snatch up tickets on the secondary market and the internet. The whole model is changing for all professional sports franchises.
Line drive right at Carroll for the first out. That's going to bring up Luis Cruz. You know, for the Yankees in the first half, they, I would think, have exceeded record-wise the talent that they've put on the field. With all of the injuries that they've had, they've really had injuries to their marquee players, to Shera, Granderson, specifically Jeter, Alex Rodriguez. So you're missing 4 all-star caliber players, and you've plugged in at times journeymen, guys on the downside of their career. And although they've played at a winning rate, and if they lose today, they'll be 7 games over for the half. I think the star factor also plays, and there hasn't been that many stars other than, you know, Robinson Cano. They've been a gutty, gritty, you know, kind of get your uniform dirty team, but they've done it without the benefit of stars. There's one of their stars who was greatly missed.
Well, the impact that Derek Jeter has had on the New York Yankee franchise, the brand, the value over the last 2 decades is undeniable.
Grounded to third. There's 1, and there's 2. So Cruz bangs into a double play for the second time this afternoon. No runs a hit, and nobody left. We're going to the 9th. 9-4 Twins. And the Yankees will go to their 5th pitcher. It's Jabba Chamberlain here in the 9th inning. Domit, Plouffe, and Hicks against Jabba, his 25th game. A strikeout per inning. CC started. He lasted 4 innings, gave up 8 runs, 5 of them unearned. And no matter how you slice it, this has not been a good game for the Yankees. They played sloppy baseball. They had the 2 errors on the scoreboard, but more than that, the way they played. And if something could go wrong today, it will go wrong, and it has gone wrong. So not the perfect way to end the first half of the season. Those two spent a lot of conversations together in the first half, more than they wanted. And Girardi likes Steve Donahue, but boy, the trainer and his staff have really had a lot of work this year. Pitch to Domit is the strike.
It is remarkable, Michael. Over the last several years, the Yankees have always had the top payroll and everything that goes with that, criticism. But you actually look at the actual payroll on the field day in and day out in the first half. It's pretty remarkable to see the numbers that have been on the DL and the salaries.
I mean, no matter what their payroll is when all the teams are listed, I think conservatively, at any time during the first half, they've had over $100 million on the payroll. On the DL, I'm sorry. The 2-2. And again, as Girardi says, and nobody's going to feel sorry for the Yankees, and I'm sure a lot of people have been waiting for this to happen to them. And, it's been an injury-ravaged season. And if they don't rally in the bottom of the 9th inning, they finish the first half 7 games over 500, which some might think, I specifically think, is overachieving with the team they've run out there. Swing and a miss. Domit down on strikes.
Well, even if you look at the 9 players on the field right now, you've got Cano and you've got Ichiro, and then you've got all pretty close to minimum wage guys. Vernon Wells' contract was kind of soaked up in the trade by the Angels, or sort of front-loaded rather, and different structure to that trade and the deal between the Angels and the Yankees.
That's why in the next 17 days, the Yankees have to make a decision. Are they going to get their injured players back, or do they have to make a move? Now, if they come to the conclusion that the injured players are not coming back, if they want to contend, I think they have to make moves. I don't think you can continue to go with the gutty, gritty bunch that they've had. I don't know if that's a 162-game answer. And you get word that Granderson's out of the pool, so that means he's inching closer after his rehab game today, and he's going to move up in class now, either the Trenton or Scranton Wilkes-Barre. A-Rod is 3 for 21. So forget all the other stuff about possible suspensions, which are very, very real. Is he ready to play baseball in 10 days? He's 3 for 21 against A-ball pitching, so you got to make that decision too. 3-1. A base hit for Plouffe. Ichiro surrounds it, gets the ball in, a 1-out single. So Plouffe is 2 for 5.
So after all the struggles, really historically, that Minnesota's had with the Yankees, they're finishing with a flourish here in the last 2 games.
If Minnesota take 2 out of 3 from the Yankees is very rare, especially since 2002. The Yankees have knocked them out of the playoffs. and they just continually beat them, whether it's a bad team or a good team. The faces changes, the uniforms remain the same, and the Yankees beat up on the Twins. The Yankees won 2-0 on Friday. Yesterday they lost 4-1. Right now they're trailing 9-4 in the ninth. One of the highlights of this weekend, the young man at the plate, his throw from center field to get Vernon Wells at third. That was an amazing throw on the fly. And he showed his athleticism. He has 9 outfield assists from center. Take a look at that throw, David.
Well, Wells right here, once the ball gets in the gap and bounces off the wall by Hicks, is thinking easy triple. Very calmly and coolly launches it. I think the length of a football field by my estimation. He's making fun of the throw, saying it was a wet ball and he threw a grenade. But it's pretty hard to have a wet ball slip out of your hand and go the length of a football field.
A walk to Hicks. Count 1-0. Yankees are crossing their fingers that Derek Jeter will be ready on Friday. Joe Girardi said before this game they will not even evaluate him until Thursday. Didn't look at him today. I mean, obviously he received treatment, but they're not even going to ask and test and see how the quad is until Thursday. There's a base hit to left field. And the bases are loaded. Thomas was the only Twin without a hit. Now everybody is part of the parade. And the bases are loaded with 1 out.
No doubt about it, Michael. 1 for 5. A heck of a lot better than 0 for 4. He's also got an outfield assist with a really good throw at home plate to knock down Almonte trying to score on a sac fly.
David, your expert opinion. The guy out there throws 96 miles an hour. Why has he been so ineffective this year?
Well, I think Job at this point, a little bit of irregular work. Frustration. Wondering what his future is going to be. There's an emotional side of it with Jabba right now. All the questions, all the uncertainty working its way up to the trade deadline, all the rumors in the papers. Is he going to be traded? That can weigh on you. The stuff is still there. You know, Jabba obviously had a couple of devastating injuries, and arm surgery, and then the trampoline incident with his ankle. He had a compound fracture in his ankle. He's had to overcome a lot of adversity, and still building strength in my mind, but I think the stuff is there. The power arm's there. The work has been irregular since his early season struggles.
And he strikes out Jamie Carroll. Now, in defense of the Yankees and their decision makers, not that they need defense, his work's irregular because when he works, he's not effective, and it's the old catch-22. Well, how can it be effective unless you give me regular work? And then they'll go, well, how can we give you regular work unless you're effective?
Exactly right. And Sean Kelly's earned his role. Everybody in the bullpen has pitched so well. All those guys out there have earned their spots. It has really kind of marginalized Jabba's role at this point.
Pitch inside the four-mo.
Michael, I was the source of a lot of rumors around a lot of trade deadlines later in my career, and it can be a big distraction. Can't help but wonder what the future holds.
That one gets away from Stewart, and here comes Plouffe. He will score. Double digits for the Twins. They lead 10-4. And they score that a pass ball.
A long, hot day for Chris Stewart. Was not anticipating that pitch. Looked like Stewart was setting up for a pitch away and got one down and in. Confidence can be a very fleeting thing, Michael, even for the best athletes. Hitters talk about it. Paul O'Neill talks about it all the time. Sometimes a broken bat single can just relieve all the pressure for a hitter, and all of a sudden he starts turning it loose. And same thing for a pitcher. All of a sudden you have one or two good outings and you start to feel it again, and then you start to cut it loose. You start to throw with conviction as opposed to, a little bit tentative. Kind of feeling for the strike zone is Jabba right now. See, not a lot of conviction behind these last several pitches.
And a walk to Florimone, and that's going to bring out Larry Rothschild. There's nobody up in the Yankee bullpen, so Jabba's got to get this final out. With Rothschild out there, gives us a little time here, David, with a 10-4 game. Your assessment of the first half of the Yankees?
Overachieved by far. The Yankees should be very happy with their position. You talk about the old saying of hold the fort down. Well, they've done yeoman's work in holding the fort down. Better than expected. But without a doubt, this can't go on. You've got to get some help. And help is on the way. You're not sure when it's going to be here. You mentioned Granderson. We talked all about the injuries and Jeter and kind of a disappointing comeback for him. He comes back and gets the infield hit his first at bat and then has to leave the game with a quad injury. But they need help on the offensive side of the game. Where that help's going to come from, maybe internally. Who knows what Brian Cashman has working on the phone lines and as the trade deadline approaches.
And the amazing thing, if the Yankees end up losing this game, they're 7 games over 500. And if the score remains the same, their run differential is -2. I mean, the Orioles did it last year. It can be done, but it's very difficult to have a minus run differential and have a winning record.
The way you have a minus run differential and have a winning record, much like Baltimore last year, they won all those one-run games, and Johnson, the closer, had an unbelievable season. And that's similar to the Yankees. The Yankees this year are among the league leaders in pitching. A lot of categories across the board. The bullpen is the envy of both leagues. And the great Mariano Rivera at the end of the games at 43 years old, going to the All-Star game on merit, not just to be honored.
There's a strike. Well, the runners are going to be going 3-2 and 2 outs with Dozier at the plate. Dozier 2 for 5, 2 doubles, a ribby, and a run scored. 10-4 Minnesota. We're in the top of the 9th inning. Chamberlain deals. Swing and a miss. Got him. So when you look at this inning, Jabba struck out 3, but he gave up a run. 2 hits, 2 walks, and the bases are left loaded. Bottom of the 9th coming up for the Yanks. Jack Curry reviewed the key moments from today's finale. Plus, Meredith Marakovitz is in the clubhouse with the team's reaction and Joe Girardi's manager's report. It's the WB Mason postgame. It's only on Yes. Well, since 2002, the Yankees are 31-8 here at the stadium, or here in the Bronx, against the Twins. And the 10 runs for the Twins today, that's the first time that they've scored 10 runs or more in a game in the Bronx since 2002. Well, Glenn Perkins is going to the All-Star game right across the river at Citi Field, and they're going to bring him in to get some work here. And he is also rumored to be on the trade block. Signed to a very affordable contract. He's from the Twin Cities area, wants to stay in Minnesota, but they've got to think about building and getting more pieces for this team. And they have to decide what's more important, having a closer on a team that's not a winning team, or trading that closer and getting other pieces and moving closer. So we'll see what they do. Austin Romine is going to pinch hit for Chris Stewart. One and 0.
Yesterday's game, Michael, we were talking about kind of some of the things that used to happen in baseball that don't happen anymore. And Perkins is kind of an advocate of the old bullpen car. Remember the old cars used to ride in from the bullpen?
The one shaped like the cap, the golf cart. And the Yankees used to have the old Datsun. Exactly. That was painted with pinstripes.
You'd hop in the car and you'd get a ride to the mound when you came in the game. Perkins has actually taken to Twitter to kind of start a movement to bring back the bullpen card. Got a good sense of humor, Perkins. Good guy in the clubhouse, as you said, well liked, and local boy, done good.
Now we have a lot of younger viewers, but when Sparky Law was having his great years with the Yankees, they used to have a bullpen car, and it was a Datsun, which was the forerunner to Nissan. And one of the coolest things at the old stadium, 2 stadiums ago, the bullpen car would come out. It was not one of those baseball caps, it was a car, and he'd be sitting in there and they would be playing the song Pomp and Circumstance, which is what you hear at graduation. Dun, 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 dun. And he would get out of his car, he would just swing open the door, he would toss his warm-up jacket in the air, the ball boy would catch it, and he'd just go out to the mound, the big chaw of tobacco. Great theater, it was unbelievable. And Romine down looking. Goose Gossage tells a great story. When he first got to the Yankees, Sparky Law won the Cy Young Award in 1977. They signed Goose Gossage as a free agent. Greg Nettles said that's the first guy to ever go from Cy Young to Sayonara in 1 year. But Gossage started the season and he was awful. And he was just getting crushed every time he came in. And the bullpen car was coming out of the opening in the outfield wall, and Gossage was coming in. And Mickey Rivers threw himself on the front of the car just so that they wouldn't bring him in. But you don't have that anymore. The bullpen door swings open and the guy runs in.
Mickey Rivers, hilarious. To this day, one of the most popular ex-Yankees for appearances here at the stadium on the suite level. A regular presence here at Yankee Stadium. One of the most popular.
A nice man, too.
Very nice.
Chopped slowly to second. Charging is Dozier. And look at a 39-year-old Ichiro Suzuki. Team is down by 6. He smells a base hit, and he gets himself his 3rd hit of the day.
Seen it a lot. Ichiro regularly leads the league in infield hits. That's really close. Might have got a little benefit of the call there, but he did. By a half step. Thank you very much. But Ichiro, Michael, used to get somewhere in the neighborhood, averaging around 50 infield hits a year. On his way to 200 plus every year. And
with that hit, David, he'll finish the first half of the season at 283. give Kerwin Danley credit. He might have gotten the call wrong. Usually umpires will always make the out call when it's a long game and it's kind of a blowout, but he saw it as safe and he signaled safe. There's Kerwin. Somebody's yelling at him.
Umpires have feelings too.
I guess Gardenhire wants to get thrown out for the second time this series. Started his All-Star break, a couple of outs early.
You know, the old saying, I mentioned it yesterday, Michael, you know, and the old saying is that the players run hot. They're emotionally invested in the game, and umpires should run cold because they're not emotionally invested in the outcome of the game. But there's human beings out there, and there's only so much talk they'll take.
Let's take a look at that play first on Yes View. Close, but out.
And you see the gander's still up there over on first base.
One, two. Strikes out Almonte with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Yankees down to their final out. Well, what a difference a year makes, everybody. Last year, the Yankees went into the All-Star break at 52-33. This year, they'll go in at 51-44. Last year, they had a 7-game lead over Boston in the American League East.
A lot of great first-half stories in both leagues this year. Boston right at the top, pushing the reset button with a huge historic trade. And now leading the pack in the American League East. New manager.
And Cano slaps a base hit the other way. So the Yankees still have a pulse here in the bottom of the ninth. A couple of changes to the American League All-Star team. Colon and Iwakuma are out, and Balfour and Greg Holland are now AL All-Stars. And we saw Holland early this week. He can really deal. And Chris Tillman is going to pitch instead of Justin Verlander, get one of the spots instead of Verlander, who pitched today.
Well, Balfour as well has had a great run in Oakland. Consecutive string of saves. Well deserved.
Count 0-1 on Hafner. Hafner 1 for 4 today. 3 for his last 24. Knock down some of the Twins coaches. All right, we'll sit down.
That is why you have nets right there to protect the dugout, at least on the low side.
Funny move by Rob Thompson. That ball came close to hitting Gardenhire, hit the net, came out to Thompson, who tossed it to Gardenhire. The 0-2. This should do it. Dozier makes the play, and the Twins beat the Yankees 10-4. In the ninth inning, no runs, 2 hits, no errors, and 2 men left. And the Minnesota Twins, who have a record of futility here in New York City, come in and take 2 out of 3 from the New York Yankees. Stick around for the postgame show to find out who's today's Chevy Player of the Game. All in all, a rough day for the Yankees as they finish the first half of their season. Errors, miscues, just really uninspired play.